Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Dare to Age Well Now. I'm Angela Belford, your host, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Dr. Karen Smith. Welcome, Dr. Karen.
Well, thank you very much, Angela. It's great to be here.
Why don't you start off by telling everyone a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, I am a chiropractor. I graduated chiropractic school back in 97. I'm the mom to two amazing sons and two beautiful grandsons. And I'm a life coach. I work on emotional healing from the inside out to help women find their clarity, to find fulfillment, and to kind of find peace in the next steps when they reach middle age. I don't know about many of you women, but when my last son went to college, that's who I identified with, was being a mom. And I kind of lost that passion for life. And what am I going to do next? Where am I going to go? So my heart and my soul is to really truly help women figure that out. What are dreams that they've let lay dormant in their lives, and now they can revisit and make those dreams come true.
That's fantastic. It's quite a coalescence of the physical with the emotional and mental and fulfillment. I'm just curious how you went from chiropractor to life coach. Was it part of just your own journey that you were searching for yourself?
Yeah. So my sister was a chiropractor as well out in Seattle. And she got sick in 2003, was diagnosed with breast cancer, and had called me and said, "Hey, I really need you. Can you come out here?" And during that time, I was really focused on raising my kids, really focused on getting my career started, my chiropractic career started. But I didn't think anything of packing my kids from Iowa and moving them to Seattle to take care of her because she didn't have any family out there. And I get out there, and during that time, she always talked about, your emotions and, tapping into that. And that emotion has to go somewhere. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? We weren't trained like that in school. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah. And so she started taking, after she graduated, she had been taking a lot of classes in emotional healing. Neuro emotional technique is the actual technique that she used, and kind of told me a little bit about it. Her and my father didn't get along real well. And so to heal her from the inside out, to find her purpose and to help her move forward, she had written him a letter, and it helped her move past that emotion. Fast forward 4 or 5 years, she passes away about 6 years after I got out there, and I just couldn't move forward. I was stuck for 8 months,
Mm.
stuck in that grief and stuck in that place where I didn't like and I didn't want to be. All I did was cry every day. And so I met a chiropractor who did NET, neuro emotional technique, here in Iowa, and it brought back those memories of the poster that she had in her office. After Dr. Terry Cooper worked on me, the next day I woke up and it was like the sun was shining, and it gave me my life back. It gave me a
Wow.
purpose of, I want to change people's lives the way she changed mine, unselfishly. She did it because she cared. And that's my coaching foundation: is I care about you. I want you to live your best life because you deserve it. We all do.
That's fantastic. A lot of what you talk about online is about fulfillment. So, how would you define fulfillment for this post children phase of life?
Sure. Fulfillment to me is finding that peace inside. Finding not only peace, Peace, but that peace, Piece, the one that grounds you, the one that you just have this burning desire of, there's something missing, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And so during my
Mm.
coaching, Live Fearlessly, we unpack that. We first start out with finding that balance in your life. Where are you? The 7 F's: friends, field, finance, faith, fun, family, and fitness. And in that, we do a wheel and we find out on that wheel, where do you fall? Is that wheel perfectly round? Is it oblong? Is it a really odd, weird shape? Is it a
Mhm.
rectangle? Where is it? And then we find out what your two lowest points are on that wheel or that spoke. And we kind of revisit that. So let's say it's fitness, or let's say it's finance, or both. We sit down and we say, okay, what piece is missing in there? And why do you not have peace? Peace, right? And we just kind of unpack that and find out, what are some decisions that were made in your past, or perceptions that were made in your past that got you to this point? And now what perceptions and actions do we need to take to get you to the point where you want to be, to have that fulfillment in your life?
So, when you're looking at this fulfillment piece and a lack of fulfillment, do you see that show up in kind of the physical side when people are struggling? Are there some indicators that we can look for?
Yeah, some of the indicators are you just kind of lose that zest. You know, people show up in my office and you don't see that smile and that exuberating zest is the only word I can think of for life. You know, I walk into my office every day and I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to treat. I can't wait to talk to people. And you see people come
Mm,
in and they're so closed off and so sad. And they always look at me like, how do you have all this energy? I said, because I'm fulfilled. I'm happy. Like, like, and sometimes back in
mm,
the day before I started coaching, I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? How do I have all this energy? Doesn't everybody have that? And then I started realizing and stepping back. And so now a lot of my clients get a little bit of coaching included, I guess, in their visits, just because it's such a part of me. It's such an integral part of me. And so some signs that I see when they come in is, you know, a lot of times they're not healthy. They don't feel good. They don't have
mm,
energy, and I can adjust all day long. But until I hit that emotional component or I hit that unfulfilled component of their life, you don't start seeing much change. They won't hold their adjustments. They won't even hold their appointments a lot of times because they're not ready for it yet. And so when they become ready, that's when I can really step in and say, okay, let's do this to help with the energy. Let's do this to help with the happiness. And now let's sit down and have a conversation about what's holding you back. You know, why do you not feel happy? Why do you not feel fulfilled? And then we can spend, you know,
mm.
5 or 10 minutes on that each visit when they come in.
That's beautiful. The way you're describing it, it sounds like fulfillment is sort of like the gasoline for our tank.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. Here's how I envision life is if you're missing these little pieces of the puzzle, it's not
Mm-hmm.
a full puzzle, right? You're still
Mm,
missing little tiny pieces. So, fulfillment to me is if you're missing these little tiny pieces of your life, whatever that may be, it might be nutrition, it might be spending time with your kids, it might be making the time to spend with your grandbabies. It might be church, right? It might be your spiritual aspect of it. If you're missing that, how can you be whole? How can you be
mm.
fulfilled?
That's beautiful. And you mentioned that one of the F's was also friendship. And
Yeah.
so, how do you see that playing out in this middle age season of life?
You know, for myself and probably for a lot of women, I can only attest to myself with the friendship aspect of it. When I joined ULA probably 6 years ago, that's part of my certification. I have a certification through ULA, which is living a ULA life. It's a life of fulfillment, if you will, the finding of the balance. I didn't realize how much I was lacking in friendship
Mm,
until I
mm,
took that wheel because I was just living my life and I was working all the time. And to me, I felt fulfilled, but I really wasn't. And so when I saw that wheel, the two things that was lacking the most was friends and fun. And I'm a
hmm.
pretty fun person. Like I like to have a good time. But but I realized I wasn't having as much fun as I thought I was, right? So I think probably more women feel that way than not, and in the last 6 years have really nourished those friendships. Now my best friend from college, we go on trips together once a year. We just got back from New York promoting my book, and it's amazing the connection that you feel with them. I think we need that as women. We need that connection, and so
Yeah,
as we age, I think you need to reach out more, and if you don't have those friendships from the past, join some organizations that will give you those friendships.
that's beautiful. You mentioned your book. Tell us a little bit about what your book is about.
Yeah, so it's about Believe Beyond. Kate Butler is our publisher. I wrote it with 25 other women. And it's basically about kind of overcoming adversity or overcoming things that
Mm,
have not given you fulfillment in your life. My program is Live Fearlessly, and part of that was living fearlessly, raising my children. I wish back in the day that I would have had all those tools to be able to move forward and not fear death, not fear that they're going to get hurt, not fear that they're not going to be successful. Because it took a lot of the joy out of being a parent. So my goal is to get back to help women find that.
that's beautiful. So, what are you doing these days to live fearlessly?
Oh, lots. Lots. So I'm planning a trip. I'm going to be going to Greece actually in September. I'm going over to do a retreat with a gal named Haley Hines, and she's amazing. She's a soul business coach, if you will, to learn some things from her and kind of clear some stuck energies out. I really think even as a coach, we still need to be coached
Hmm.
because, we need that as well. I'm doing that. Next year, we'll be going to Croatia for a 10-day yacht trip. I'm writing 3 more books and I
Oh,
really
wow.
just, yeah, it's fun. I'd really like to reduce my hours in the clinic down to about, 3 days a week, but I still want to do chiropractic because I love what I do. So,
That's beautiful. So it sounds like you have looked at that whole wheel and have a little bit going in several of those different pieces of the pie, so to
yeah.
speak.
Yeah. Also, this year we're implementing some women's retreats. We'll be doing some grounding retreats for women locally. And then next year we'll be expanding more. It's called Opulent Odyssey. And we'll be
Oh,
expanding more across the seas and over the United States. So that's the next project that we're working on.
that's beautiful. If you could give our listeners one or two tips and strategies that they can use to age well now, especially in this area of fulfillment, what would those one or two tips be for them?
Take time for you. Stop taking care of everybody else and set
Mm,
time aside for you. As women, we're caretakers. We are predominantly designed to care for others, but we forget about our own needs. We forget about ourselves because society has made us to feel guilty. They've made us to feel if we do things for ourselves, we become selfish. And that's so far from the truth. Caring for yourself will allow you to care for others. It'll give you that time to care for others because if you don't care for you, you're not going to be here for any length of time, right? That'd be one first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is find your dreams again. I mean, the older we get, we think that you shouldn't be out enjoying life and you shouldn't be out having fun. That's so far from the truth. Go find your
hmm.
joy. That would be my second piece of advice.
So that brings up the question, what if somebody says, "Oh, it would be that's ridiculous to chase after my dreams again." What would you say to them?
I would say, who told you that? Where does that come from? It comes from somebody.
Beautiful. Yeah, sometimes it's the voices in our head. It's not even that there's somebody out there telling me. I just heard a story of a friend that was saying that their adult children were over and they were doing something ridiculous. And at first, her husband was like, "Well, we can't do that. That's ridiculous." And I was like, well, and then he finally kind of like let his guard down and they all end up laughing and carrying on and being silly and it's like, where did we get the message that you can't be silly and you can't be ridiculous and
Right.
so anyway, joy, it's underrated in our culture, I
Agreed.
think.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Karen, if people want to find you, what is the best place to connect with you online?
So you can go on my website, www.drkaren.smithdc.com.
drkarensmithdc.com, and we'll put
Yep.
that in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes today to give us some tips and strategies on how we can use fulfillment to help us age well now. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.